It seems like that Supreme Court has been responsible for putting every lane right across our country. And the newest lane that Supreme Court has to bring clarity on is related to education. Supreme Court has gone ahead and asked Center as well as CBSE and NCERT to bring clarification because the petition has been filed against the 3-language structure policy, which is in debate as of now. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to understand that what exactly is the concern when we are talking about this 3-language policy which has been rolled out for a while now, but why it has not been stayed or why it is still in debate. So if you want to understand the whole policy from scratch, you can go and watch the video in Flash News. I have already covered in great detail, but briefly we'll also cover it again to understand that what exactly is unfolding. So when we are talking about the present scenario, we have to understand that CBSE has gone ahead and introduced a mandatory 3-language structure. Now this 3-language structure has to be applicable in the classes from 6th to 9th. Now this situation means that there will be 2 additional compulsory languages. Before that there was only 1 compulsory language, other were optional, but as of now what we are seeing that there are going to be 3 languages which are going to be of compulsory nature. Now in this compulsory nature, what we are seeing is that 1 is already present and there are scope of 2 additional languages. Now CBSE has done this on the basis of new education policy of 2020 and also National Curriculum Framework of 2023. Now in this context, another thing that makes it more difficult and more part of the debate is the fact that 3 languages when we are talking, 2 needs to be compulsorily Indian languages. And another problematic factor is the timeline, that this very year this policy has to be implemented. That means the sessions which are supposed to begin in May itself that have already started, they are supposed to be ruled out with this policy already in motion. Now let us try to understand that why exactly there is controversy around it. I have given you hints. You have to understand that the amount of academic burden that this is going to create on students and also the infrastructure itself. Apart from that, timeline is a huge issue in terms of sudden implementation. And we also have to keep in mind that the number of limited teachers which are present, and also that this might be a way that a certain section of lobby fears that this might be a way of Hindi imposition. That is why these all factors make it extremely controversial. And it is not because of the controversy that we are studying it here. We are studying it because it is important. It is important because it is directly linked to federalism. It is directly linked to language. It is directly linked to linguistic identity and also educational reforms with constitutional rights. So let us begin to understand that what exactly Supreme Court is hearing this case for. So certain petitioners have gone to Supreme Court and they have challenged this whole 3-language formula. They have talked about the restriction on foreign language and the sudden abrupt policy rollout. So this is what they have challenged. And the main arguments that have been given by the petitioners include all the things that we have discussed as the controversial part. That means schools are not prepared, not just in terms of language teachers, but also in terms of the infrastructure, also in terms of content, books, and so much more. Furthermore, another factor that has been added is on the academic burden that the student is going to face. And when we are talking about constitutional rights, it also talks about, the petitioners have highlighted that the freedom of choice in education has also been taken away. So all in all, petitioners have highlighted all the arguments which make it a little difficult, a little controversial when we are talking about this very policy itself. And this petition directly involves CBSE, NCERT and the union government. So in this context, Supreme Court has gone ahead and clearly issued the notice to Center, CBSE and NCERT, and they have asked them to give a clear, concise reply if the infrastructures are ready, if the trained teachers are available, textbooks are ready, and if schools can actually realistically implement this whole policy that is being talked about. That is why the notice has been issued to all of these institutions, and based on this there will be a detailed hearing to understand and make sure that just constitutional aspects, when we are talking about the academic aspects and also the rights, everything is balanced out. Now when we are discussing the constitutional aspects, let us have a look into them. First factor that we need to consider here is the fact when we are looking at education, this is an item that is dealt in concurrent list. We have three types of list: union list, state list and concurrent list. The items in these lists give a clear idea based on constitutional framework itself that what is the thing that state or union or both of them can do legislation on. That means if a law has to be made on education, it can be made by center also, it can be made by state also, because it is part of concurrent list. But an item of union list such as defense, that is related, any law related to it will be made by union itself. So that gives a clarity to us. Can you tell me in the comment section which schedule includes all these three lists? Now when education is in concurrent list, that means states also have the freedom to legislate on that. But if union is coming up with such a huge policy, it is taking away the aspect of autonomy from the states, compromising on federalism. Another factor we have to consider here when we are talking about language, it is also linked to articles such as 343. So when we are talking about article 343, it very clearly says that the language of the union government will be Hindi in Devanagari script. Now when we are talking about Hindi, please understand, it is saying language of the union government, not national language. So when we are considering Hindi in such an aspect, we have to take in consideration that how this needs to be dealt in context with this policy. Apart from that, it is not just Hindi that has been given a special place. We have to look into article 345 also, which talks about that the state legislature have the freedom to choose any language which is spoken in the boundary of states or Hindi as the language of that particular state government. Apart from that, when we are looking at other articles such as 350A, which was introduced through the 7th Amendment Act that directed that states should give the primary education in mother tongue. So all of these articles not only show us the fact that language is something that has been very sensitively dealt with when we are talking about constitutional framework itself. Apart from that, we also have cultural and linguistic rights which are present in fundamental rights. Can you tell me which are these rights in the comment section? So in this preview, it is very important that what Supreme Court comes up with, because that will give a lot more clarity, not just in terms of how this policy needs to roll out, but also how these constitutional aspects need to be understood. Now on this note, we will move to a very important factor when we are talking about in detail three language policy. The most important aspect here is the pros and cons. So let us start with understanding the pros that come with three language policy. Yes, in a country that is as diverse as India, where the multilingualism is celebrated, this is something that can be seen as a way to promote or create multilingualism. So this will help in improving child's cognitive ability, communication skills and also cultural understanding. And at the same time, when the relevance or the broad use of Indian languages seems to be fading, the diversity that we boast so much about is also under threat. So this will help in preservation of Indian languages. The linguistic diversity will be retained and the Indian knowledge system will get a lot of thrust given this. But at the same time, we also have to look into that how this sums up as a way, as a tool for national integration. We need to understand that the interstate disparities that have existed, the interstate disputes, especially in terms of language, this might serve as a catalyst to actually diffuse them. This will encourage better understanding, and the whole idea that we pitch about India, that is unity in diversity, that will be promoted. Apart from that, we have to look at the language as a skill also, that how it enhances your skill base, and this helps in not just employment but also mobility. So this will be a great factor when we are considering person for government jobs, their mobility, when we are looking into migration and also interstate business opportunities. Now, once we have looked into pros, it might seem like a rosy picture, but it's not. There are consequences that we need to understand before deciding if 3-language policy is the only or the best way to go. When we are talking about the consequences, the first factor that we have to understand that the amount of academic burden that it creates on the student. Given a student of 2026, it is not just the academic burden, the competitive burden. The world is moving so fast, the curriculum is changing rapidly. To gain hands on it, it is not just students who are involved, but parents are as well. So when there is classes 6 to 9, which have the fear of board examinations which are to be dealt in class 10th, that is where extra burden would be created. If at all students, let's just say they decide to manage it, how do we plan to deliver it to students? We need infrastructure, we need textbooks, we need trainers. As of now, this all seems to be in negative. Teachers shortage, textbooks are limited, school capacity absolutely uneven. Then another factor that we discussed in the starting is the fear of Hindi imposition. Yes, we have multiple languages when we are talking about, and this comes in a very real form from where states have protested against this. They have tried to protect their regional language, which is very important for the whole idea of unity and diversity that we were looking from the angle of pros. So in this context, particularly states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, as well as northeastern states, they have certain sensitivities and real reasons to worry that this might lead to Hindi imposition. Apart from that, we also have to look into factors that when we are talking about employment, mobility, then why foreign languages are given secondary status. In this context, as of now, French learners, German learners, they might be affected because Indian languages are given priority. And when we are talking about uneven capacity, inequality in education, we cannot forget that how stark it stands, especially in urban areas and rural areas. So this brings us to the fact that yes, Supreme Court might talk about the petition, but the challenges what we are talking about in regards with 3-language policy are real. So are the prospects around it. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.